I had the idea for this channel over a year ago, but I was never able to pin down exactly what I wanted to do with it. I have a couple ideas aside from this, including a news show and other things, but I'm just getting into online video and it's a learning experience, so I could use all the help I can get. Anyway, I've decided the primary show on the channel will be a show about Easter eggs and their origins. Without further ado, welcome to the first episode of The Dungeon Crawl. The first game I'd like to talk about is the Ratchet and Clank series, being one of my favorite video game series to date. Oddly, there aren't a lot of outside references in the games, but I tried my best to find Easter eggs for this long-running franchise. The first Ratchet and Clank had very few Easter eggs, so I'll start with the one that is in pretty much every Insomniac game. Dan Johnson was an Insomniac Games employee who worked on pretty much every one of their games until he left for High Impact Games. But even when he left, he was still able to work on Ratchet and Clank because one of the companies who worked on the game was High Impact Games. Dan always had problems with his legs. I'm not sure how, but he died on December 3rd, 2006. All of the cameos he had before that were likely just that, cameos, but after his death, Insomniac Games continued to put him in their games as Easter eggs, likely as a memorial of sorts. But, as I said, the first Ratchet and Clank had very few Easter eggs. Going Commando, on the other hand, didn't have a shortage of Easter eggs. To begin, on planet Damocel, Clank's apartment had a poster of Jak and Daxter. Additionally, on the same planet, when you get the Hypnomatic, you can see Clank dancing just like Daxter does in the Jak and Daxter franchise. The next one's not so much an Easter egg, but it is pretty entertaining. On planet Todano, there's a benign NPC that you can kill called the Robotic Tourist. If you kill them over and over again, help desk messages will pop up that become increasingly serious, urging you to stop. Finally, during the intro cinematic, Ratchet and Clank are sitting on a couch. Clank is reading a book, though it's not clear what it is, while Ratchet plays video games. Usually they're Ratchet and Clank video games, but every fourth game is a Sly Cooper or Jak and Daxter game. Why would these games have so many cameos from Jak and even this one from Sly Cooper? Well, the reason for that would be because Sly Cooper was co-produced by Sanzuru Games and Jak and Daxter was co-produced by Nihilistic Games. Both companies worked on pretty much every game in the Ratchet and Clank series. Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal did the same thing the first game did in that it didn't have a whole lot of Easter eggs. The most notable one I could find was the Quark VidComic minigames, where there is a cheat similar to that of the Konami code that you can input to put Quark in a tutu. The code is up, up, down, down, left, right, circle, square, compared to the Konami code up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, which is fairly close for a console whose controller didn't have square or didn't have lettered buttons. So I'll give it that. Deadlocked included a number of Easter eggs, but not many. The first one I'd like to talk about is the Morph mod. The Morph mod turns enemies into barnyard animals. In previous games, it turned them into sheep, rams, and ducks. This game turns enemies into pigs as well as the animals from the previous games, but it also has a 1 in 4 chance of turning them into a pig with wings. You know, when pigs fly. Additionally, the multiplayer mode allows player 2 to put on a skin that turns the Clank model into Jak. Deadlock's scoreboard also features the name Agent Zero, who is a dim-witted spy from Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage, who thought that Spyro was a member of his club when he managed to follow Zero to his hideout. Agent Zero was captured by Dreadzone, but, spoiler alert, he managed to escape with a number of other heroes, including Ratchet and Clank, before the facility exploded, so at least he got a happy ending. Now, I haven't played a Ratchet and Clank game since Deadlocked, because Deadlocked was the last game on PlayStation 2, and I owned a 360, not a PS3. I've still never played one, but from what I could find, there were very few notable Easter eggs in any of the games. Full Frontal Assault does reference any time Ratchet and Clank rides on the back of Giant Clank, though, with a plushie of Ratchet in the exact position that Ratchet hangs onto his back. Unfortunately, that's about it. But anyway, that's all I've got. If anyone has any suggestions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and if I could get you to subscribe, that'd be fantastic.